Come on, big gold belt. Come on, y'all.
All right, good people. Welcome back for another review recap of Bel-Air Season 2, getting into Episode 5. Excellence is Everywhere, which is available right now. So you already know the drill here. Check out the episode, come through as we're going to break this entire episode down, giving you our perspective, our thoughts, our theories, all that other good stuff about this episode. Your host here, Adversary, and I, ready to do what we do. And yeah, get into it. First off, good sir, how you doing today?
Man, I was all right until about 10 minutes ago, bro. The devil is a lie. We still make it work. Regardless, we're gonna make it work. But the devil ain't nothing but a lie.
No doubt. Man, this episode is interesting, man, and I can't wait to really hear your thoughts about it. But let's just get really right into the midst of this episode. We got Will. He's at the basketball camp and he's just putting in work. And obviously, a lot of what this opening scene for me is, and probably for the viewers, is just to see, well, what training facility is he in? What's the culture in the training facility? How is this going to make Will a better player? And iron sharpens iron, and he's in there. He's putting in work. Doc is motivating him, telling him he need to step his game up. You know, he has the incident of him throwing up, but it's all good. You know, these things happen. But it's not a negative like stigma or stamp on the facility. It just happens sometimes. It's letting you know that Will's putting in work, gotta stay hydrated. And then, you know, he meets two other ballers in there, letting them know, like, hey man, you kind of soft, you from Bel-Air, but it's interesting because why it seems like they're coming off as like villains or anything. It's just them and their background, letting them know, like, man, you know, them dudes that be balling up Bel-Air, they're soft. He's not wrong. Look at Will's team. But also he said, I'm from Philly. But he said, all right, cool. Well, you know, you need to show us something what it is. But at the end of the day, the three of them all grinding, trying to eventually get their spot on whatever their future is going to be. But what it is, it's just a culture of ballers balling and everybody uplifting everybody. So for you, just what's your thoughts about how we're being presented by this character, Doc, who came off as kind of shady at first, who people were suspicious about, but it's 5 episodes in now. Do we have a reason?
Not yet that I think, at least not when it's been revealed. They definitely did a good job at portraying him in a certain light. Even up until the episode right before this one where he's talking to Jackie at the end, telling her good job for getting him in here, blase, blase. So it definitely paints the picture like there's an ulterior motive, but I feel like in this episode particularly, he kind of showed the love and respect does have for Will, giving him the book, telling him don't trip, it's the first day, they're gonna, and I mean, I'm sure it's the same for women too, but I know for guys for sure, when you the new guy in the locker room, they won't play with you.
Oh yeah.
Guy in the gym class, and you in the basketball unit or the football unit, they gonna play with you. That's fact, because they don't know you. So yeah, I think that was a very real kind of portrayal, and I like what Jackie said to him, like, yo, you got to find your edge. I think very spot on. So, yeah.
Yeah, Will saying not afraid of hard work, and that's the type of person you want on the team. Honestly, I think the arc with Doc is like Doc had already knew about Will a long time ago, and I think he just realized he's a baller. Can't believe he got somebody of his caliber just out there, you know, just in the pond. And now that he got him, he trying to play it cool, but I think he values Will, knowing that Will is the total package. And I think, you know, obviously, you know, you worry if somebody like him could fit into your program, but he's like, okay, well, he got the backing of his family with the banks and whatnot, and he's a stone cold baller. So why not? And I think, you know, when we kind of look at like the balling community, the basketball community now, when we think about some of these super teams, and I'm not talking about in the NBA, but I'm talking about AAU, I'm talking about high school, you know. When you think about these super teams that come together, listen, these coaches would never show face, but they're damn sure happy that they get Bronny, they get Wade's son on the same team, Melo's son. Like, come on now, you know they absolutely happen. I think that's how they're portraying Will. It's one of those like, I can't believe we just got Cuz off the low. Like, so, because, and the reason I feel this way is because this show never takes a traditional route. So, like, if he does come off as a villain and does something sneaky, I'll be like, okay,
Right.
they finally did something that we were a little bit on to. But I see this going a different way. And that's why I'm like, yeah, see, he's not a bad guy. He just, he realized he had talent and he wasn't trying to show face about it. So that's why he pushing him the way he is. And honestly, these are some of the people who make some of these people some of the best players in the world. Is those folks that secretly always believed in you, but never wanted to show it, because the moment you get comfortable, then you stop working hard.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a not a trope, but a concept, an idea that's constantly visited like many times across films, movies. It's here, that message is constant. The minute you get comfortable, or the minute you feel like you there, that's when you fall off.
Yeah. So we get Viv and G having a really cool moment that we haven't really got to see them mesh in the way they have. And, Viv is kind of talking about, how's everything going? Kind of asking her a very like sentimental question. Not like how are you doing? And breaks it down that like, listen, like Phil needs you. You're the one who trusts the most, but also at the same time too, how are you doing? And also he also gives her sort of affirmations and telling her like, you got to keep doing what you do. And we all, as he mentioned, him and Phil, they're trying to find their way, but he also basically said like everybody's trying to figure this all out, but you guys stay motivated in what you're doing. So I don't think there's much to say here unless you got something to add, but it was cool to kind of see two characters who don't really rendezvous on a one-on-one have a one-on-one like this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a whole lot to dive into with that, but I felt the same way. It was good to see a conversation between the two characters and to see the genuine, respect and love between them as well. How she kind of reinforces the fact like, yo, Phil is going through it right now. He's in his corner. You the only one he trusts, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it was a good moment.
Yeah. You mentioned Jackie. Going back to Jackie and Will at the facility, talking about what's your edge, and like you say, he's not scared of hard work, but let him know, like, listen, man, you gotta do some laps next time. And Will doesn't know how to swim, so that was how is this gonna play out? We'll talk about that in a second. We get a moment again. I've been saying this in all of our reviews where we get Phil and Ashley, as I said, is the centerpiece of this entire series. And Phil comes in and says, like, here's a card. Mrs. Hughes has another opportunity. I think he said Chicago. And while she will not be coming back, everything that's happened with her in terms of the positivities because of what you've done. Oh, she has a nice settlement coming, and she's going to be okay. And while that's disappointing for Ashley, she gets some encouraging words. And just to quickly just add a part of it is, Mrs. Hughes telling her never lose that spark. And there was a lot of other things, but I didn't want to say it all because I want to give you a chance to kind of jump in here. But I will say this. I think we are talking about two actors within the storyline, but I truly feel this was not only a passing of the torch, but this was like a handling of Black women legacy in Hollywood, and her telling her like, listen, like, and I don't think there was any like negative context in terms of what Bel-Air was and the opportunity that the show got, because it's one of the biggest shows. It's definitely very sacred within our community, and I've never heard anything bad about it. But I honestly do think that this is Tatiana telling her in the sense that, like, listen, what you're doing with this character, the story that you're telling for all Black women is way beyond Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, way beyond Bel-Air. I think this was a moment of her saying, like, we believe in you. Keep doing what you're doing. Never lose your start. Continue to act, but continue to spread this message. Continue to break down the walls and take these roles that wasn't so easy for them possibly back then. Right. I could be completely reaching here, but this felt very personal from one actor to the next in terms of them saying, like, I'm proud of what you're doing with this character. I'm proud of what you're doing as an actor. I'm proud of what you're doing as a young lady. Keep doing your thing.
Well, I mean, if it's a reach, I think it's a great one. I didn't get that from it, but then I wasn't thinking along those lines either. So
Yeah.
a lot of sense that you say it, now that you say it. I just took from it, I guess, more on the surface level that although things didn't go the way you wanted them to, or the outcome wasn't what Ashley was looking for, it was still blessing that came out the situation. She got a settlement, she's got another opportunity, and she now has the ability to, I guess, travel and go to another space where she might be even more needed. So it's like, my grandmother always used to tell me when I was a little kid, every disappointment is good. So a lot of times stuff go left and you get blown about it, and it actually works out. Like, I'm glad that went left, because then this went right.
Yeah.
It worked out. So yeah.
Everybody loves a good old blessing in disguise. The times you get fired because that new job is loading up for you. I mean, hey, now, whatever you believe in, like, there's definitely something way bigger than life within those moments of opportunity. Is essentially when one door closes, another one opens. So, but yeah, I think Akira is a fantastic actor. I've been, we've been seeing her in a lot of different roles. One of my favorite shows, Good Trouble. She's obviously was in Captain Marvel, and I think this show is a show that me and you. It's why we do the reviews here, is because it's already found a special place within us, a sacred place within our community, and I think that's why I tend to think that some of these messages are much bigger than just a part of the script. You know what I mean? And then obviously the other biggest thing is having Tatiana read it. That narration definitely holds volumes to me. They could have easily had her just looking at it and saying it out loud, but like that narration definitely felt like a very special moment of like, we need to do this. This is definitely a passing of the torch as such.
Yeah.
Which means we probably won't see Tatiana for the rest of the season.
Probably not. So, but it's cool though, because them tidbits kind of help make the show what it is. Like, I didn't think we'd see any of the original.
Yeah, well. Yeah, we got another cameo this episode. Hopefully you all peeped that. I mean, by now it's your second chance, so hopefully you got it. We'll get there in a second. Yeah, so we'll see what's up with Mrs. Hughes in the future of Bel-Air season 2. Anyway, Will's back at school for the first day, and oh man, I didn't see this scene going out the way it did. And you got everybody just kind of chilling, chopping it up, and then the intercom comes on as they make the announcements for the whatever the award is, I keep forgetting, the Founders Award. And for whatever reason, first of all, I thought this was really dope how they did this scene, because we're seeing all these people named, and I don't know why I thought Carlton was about to get slighted, which would have been wow.
It's how they set it up. I thought the exact same thing. I said they're not about to say my man's name. I said yeah.
Thought they were gonna slight my man, and then we hear not only Carlton Banks, but Will Smith, and Yasmin gives this look back, and I'm like,
yeah.
What did you think about when that scene came out?
I said she swindled. Name on the back, because there was no way. The teacher just came to him the last episode. We saw what you did. Your name came up, etc., etc. Almost as if to say it's in the bag, at least as far as the nomination. But I felt like she was almost saying it was in the bag, like you're about to get this jump. If for no other reason than you're the only black student that's it, and you've made a major impact this year, whatever, what have you.
Yeah.
So as soon as they announced Will's name and then Yaz started making the little face, I immediately took that as, oh, she went and did something, bro. She watched. But her explanation, if that's what really happened, I guess, hey, it was just one of them things I ain't see coming.
Here's what's problematic about this. So we know that like Ms. Basson kept boosting Carlton up by saying, listen, the faculty is going to nominate you. Right. You're good to go.
Right.
If Carlton had known that the BSU can nominate him, he probably would have went through with everything that he had planned.
He may have. That's a very good point. He may have. I guess my only thing with that is, But I get, you know what, you're right. Because I was going to say he had the panic attack, but I think the panic attack was directly because he was worried about
torn between doing the right and wrong thing here. But if you had the full support of the BSU for doing, Will got suspended for doing what Carlton's supposed to do and got nominated.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I tell you what, even if that's not really just the day and night outcome of this, if Yasmin decided to put forth effort to ensure that the BSU had a nominating vote, in spite of what Carlton did, to get Will up there, is a mind blowing.
That's what I took. That's how she went back and she swindled.
That's crazy.
And it's like, and I don't know that that's what happened, but the show almost eggs that on, because remember in the last episode he was sitting there in his phone debating on whether or not to even keep her number.
Yeah,
he exposed what really happened and what was going on with him. So I took that as, okay, maybe now Yaz will look at him differently, understanding what was on his shoulders at that moment, because she now knows what happened. Everybody knows what happened. But deletes the number, and it's like she's still holding a grudge despite the fact that she knows he had a panic attack, he was on medication, etc.
Yeah.
So now
good point.
Being vindictive now.
Yep. Good point. I would love to know where my man Drew was at in all of this.
Drew's still getting his nose fixed.
He definitely was like, man, fuck it. The lesser of the two evils here. Nominate Will. So Carlton can't get it.
I can't beat him, so let's just take his nomination away.
Yeah. But it was absolutely personal, as Carlton did ask was his personal, absolutely personal. But I did like how with all that coming in, he's asking Will like, oh, you're this year's wild card or whatnot. Lisa steps in to save the day. This is a fantastic episode for Lisa, so I'm just going to try to chunkate all of her things all into one, because I think that's going to be the majority of this conversation here. But anywho, I mean, Yasmin tries to say, we never seen a perspective like that before, but hey, it's a win. 2 Black students nominated. I was like, yeah, she's not wrong.
Like, though, that felt like that was like the used car salesman pitch. I mean, it's got 20,000 miles on it, but it'll get you home.
Hey, that's a fact right there.
Oh, like, I don't know. Do I get excited for that? Is it really a win? I don't know.
Yeah. But Lisa's going to help him swim.
Yeah.
And he did kind of shade her by saying you need Drew permission and whatnot. But he said, I told you he wasn't good enough for you. He said, listen, you coming by what? And he said, all right, you my girl. Say, oh, you my girl when you want something. So listen, I'm gonna say a couple of things, but again, I'm gonna try to save Lisa stuff as much as I want. I love the writing in this, because this felt very natural in terms of the clap back, in terms of this moderate flirting, in terms of this grayish area of folks that were a thing that can't really figure out how they can communicate with each other. And obviously we see Will is completely comfortable with using Lisa, and Lisa very much admittedly that she is unsure where she stood, but she fell back in for it. And well, we'll talk about it. But I liked how this was written, because they played up the mystique in terms of, what's going to happen? Like, could it be? Will it be? Is it not? And I just, so much. And this is still very early in the episode here.
Yeah.
In the influencer house, the influencers are mad because they're not getting no events and whatnot. But it's all right, because we know that Hilary is doing what she can without Ivy, without needing Ivy's followers and whatnot. No Karuchi in this episode. Wonder if she becomes more of a cameo now. But as Hilary said, we're going to do this without her and lock in that deal with not H2O Ivy, Simply Sprite. So there's that. Will at the locker, and his teammate Tyler comes in, and long story short, and this is the question I have for you. Tyler comes in and says, listen, I'm glad you found a team that appreciates you. There was a lot of other little things said. You can chime in on that if you want. But what was that look that Will gave Tyler when he walked away after they had that conversation?
I was trying to figure that out, honestly. I don't know. I would assume, I guess just off seeing it the one time, I would assume that the look must have had something to do with him saying something about trying to get the coach to give him a second chance.
Okay.
Or the team really did appreciate him, even though they may not verbally expressed it. I feel like it had to be somewhere along those lines, because maybe for a second, Will is thinking, well, damn, all right, damn, they did really rock with me. Or, well, now I have this allegiance to this new team, but there was a space for me or some kind of love for me. So maybe it was a small instance of kind of being on the fence or being torn between two scenarios. Maybe it was the realization that, damn, I wasn't going to get a second chance and coach really didn't. So maybe this was the right thing to do. And just maybe the kind of hurt from that, because it's like, damn, I really got to let my mans go and come over here and do my thing here. So I don't know what to attribute it to specifically, but I think it probably had something to do with what he was saying about the coach and the team.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I think that's a lot of good possibilities, and I think we will absolutely get more clarification on that next episode. But it definitely was a look for us to note that, well, it struck a nerve. It's just to determine if absolutely just a matter of what's it going to be. Yeah. So we get G and Phil, and G. This simply is a small conversation as well too. G basically telling Phil, this is what you need to do, bro, in order to get back on the throne, in order to change all this around and whatnot. And I think it's simply just G being the brains of things, holding Phil accountable, but also providing constructive criticism in terms of helping him with the financial issue and trying to get this meeting that he needs to set up in order to get things back financially in the right standard. As I said, they took a 30% hit after he sort of took a step out of the limelight, the face of the firm. So, you know, G just saying, hey man, set up a meeting, figure out, you know, what happened, and we'll go from there. Carlton, his racist teammate, classmate, ex-teammate, Connor, gives him coke. Here's how this goes. Connor comes in and says, I know who you are, man, and we not cool and all that other stuff, but I know when things get tough, and I know when you're not good,
you get high.
What you need. And he gives him a peace offering, which is a bag of coke, just for Carlton to go into the bathroom. And for a moment, it looks like he flushed it, but we found out to be false later on. Did you think he flushed it there?
No, I'm going to tell you what. Notwithstanding the fact that it's Bel-Air and that's just what they do. They're going to mess with your mind. But that was, for me, purely like a cinematography thing. Anytime they show a character torn between right and wrong or a pivotal decision in his arc, and they allude to a decision without actually showing the decision, you always know it's the opposite. It was the same thing in Squid Games. When the old man was his partner and he kept playing with the marble and fake like he had the marble so that the old man would get shot. Remember, they never showed the old man getting shot. You just heard the gunfire as he walked out the gate. You never getting killed. And then 3 episodes later, here come the old man showing up in the bed in the room after everything was said and done. So I think those are like just cinematic elements that the directors use. Anytime it's a pivotal decision, they show the struggle of what to choose.
Yeah, the conflict.
The after, yeah, and then they always jump to the after.
Absolutely.
And every time they jump to the after, always assume that they did the opposite.
Yep.
Every time.
Absolutely. So we get Phil texting Robert, setting up a meeting at the restaurant, but Erica comes in. Who's Erica? Erica just happens to be a lawyer from another firm who comes to bring him bad news, basically saying, Garrison won't be showing up because we stole him, but there is a way to get him back, or whatever that proposal may be. Anywho, Aunt Viv is out here setting up her event, but she's getting some pointers from Janice, who is, welcome back, the OG Vi. And I think what makes matters here is that Viv is really has a vision of her own, may not be totally open to criticism. That isn't Phil, by the way, or Hilary. But I feel like it's almost feels like a derailment for her and what she's doing. Well, I mean, what do you think of, first of all, seeing OG Vi back is obviously dope. But what was your thoughts about just how Aunt Viv is accepting criticism from Janice?
Again, cinematic elements. The way they showed that scene with her, oh no, I think you should do this and do this and do this, right? Right after that is the scene with Hilary. Soon as Hilary and her start talking, I already see where it's going. Hilary comes in and asks for advice about what to do. And Viv stops. So, man, you a boss. You need to do this, handle this, dig in, let them know what time it is. Right after she say that, Hilary flips the same script back and reapplies it to Aunt Viv's, tell her the same thing. You a boss. This is your vision. If everybody else gets their vision, yours gets lost. So I kind of saw that coming with the way they set the scene up. But I like that, I like the decision that Aunt Viv ultimately makes after that conversation. But I think it was a very realistic depiction again of what it's like when you as an adult have the sense to do something and another adult is sitting there talking to you like a kid as if you don't. We all, we're our own business owners, we all go through it at work. It's the same. Yeah. Your manager, something you got to look at your manager like, bro, you hired me, right?
Yeah.
There was some level of competence you saw when you hired me, right? Okay, can I do my job, please? Like, yeah. It irks you.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was a very realistic depiction. She's sitting there, she's rubbing her head, she's taking a deep breath, she's, Lord Jesus. It's real.
Facts on facts. So we'll get into swim lessons from my favorite character, and I think Lisa's just an amazing everything. I actually might be crushing on Lisa a little bit, to be honest.
Yo, before I see her, son, like every episode, I'll be like, you know what?
Yep, definitely did. Yeah, just going whatever. Y'all can say what y'all want in the comments, but I fuck with her. And Lisa definitely is the right choice here, and I'm gonna keep lobbying that one. But what's interesting here is you getting a swim lesson, and then this man Will is just dropping flirty tidbits left and right. The only thing that gives me peace is your voice. She does sound like a podcast, to be honest. I was just like, yeah, I feel you, bro. Like, yeah, but like obviously you playing with my girl feelings here. And just to really quickly between the scenes, this was when Hilary goes to talk to her mom and Aunt Viv, and basically telling her she a boss and they need to work together, obviously, because they both had a problem. But obviously using the influencers and her event together was a win-win for the two of them. So anyway, you already talked about it. So going back to Will and Lisa, she mentions, and listen, this entire time, Lisa has just been a friend trying to help Will in the predicament, because that's what a good woman would do. But she finally took her shot. I think she took one shot this entire episode and said, anything can work if you want it bad enough. And I was like, oh boy, I hope you know what she's saying, Will, because you basically diffused the relationship because you just said it just wasn't going to work for whatever reason that wasn't true. So there's that. Lisa goes back to Viv and starts to mention other things that were absolutely right about amazing what you can do when you're motivated. And she talking about her getting Will into that water and whatnot. And beyond that too, and then she starts airing it out.
Snitching, man.
Snitching galore, talking about the Founders Award, talking about the panic attack, talking about it all. And Viv is like, oh, keep going. Really? Yeah, real? keep going. Tell me. We get Carlton and Will just basically bringing up Connor and talk about how he's just not good for business. And he says, and Will says a lot of things I don't think Will would really say, honestly, in this type of interaction, talking about like, because it's negative and it's also reaching if you don't know. But he's like, I seen you with Connor. He not good, but I know how y'all used to be. So I'm just making sure you're good because I don't want you to do nothing like that. That's a big reach, bro.
I felt like that was on some cousin, like as them being cousins or family. I felt that was real, just strictly from the standpoint of knowing from everything that happened in season 1, knowing where Carlton's mental state is or can go in them kind of situations, knowing that Connor was probably one of the main driving forces behind that.
No doubt.
Just his genuine concern. Yo, I seen you talking to son today. You know, not to say that y'all are best buds, but I see the guy that you haven't been around for a few episodes, and then he popped back up, and you, I'm just making it good. That's real, dog. And I would, you know what? I would hope, I would pray somebody would do that for me. If I was like, I had a bad episode with a girl, and then for whatever reason she pops back up, or we run into each other.
Bro, why you talking to her again?
I want somebody. You know who that is, right? Hey, cuz I ain't like the eyes she was giving you. I'm just saying, you straight, you ain't about that. Please, dog. That's what you need. That. Yeah. So I felt like that was genuine.
Yeah. I'm gonna kind of go through this, and if you want to chime in, just let me know. But we get Aunt Viv and Phil. Basically, Aunt Viv, for the first time, I thought she was about to start some trouble, but again, wrong. She's like, we need to talk. And obviously she brings up about what happened with Carlton and the panic attack. And she says, listen, I'm just here so we can put together a game plan. This is interesting because last week, Viv ain't wait for no game plan. She went and executed herself. It's interesting that this week she comes back. And maybe this is one of those type of things where it's like, I don't know what's the difference here, because it dealt with Will last week. It dealt with Will this week. Last week she says, I don't need permission. This week's like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for a game plan. But anyway, the game plan was for Phil to talk to Will and Carlton to talk to Viv to talk to Carlton. And at the end of this, though, I think it was just that the very much is that Will and Carlton both said, like, don't worry, essentially, with all the different things that were kind of going back and whatnot. But what did you think about the plan? What did you think about like all of this?
Well, I think it was a perfect build. Remember last episode, they got into the argument about that very thing. Well, I didn't know I had to ask permission. Well, I ain't know you know, my wife was just going to go behind my back and da-da-da-da. So they both had varying or different viewpoints about the same situation. But remember, at the end, he comes to her, he apologizes, my bad, I ain't mean to raise my voice. It's just I'm stressed and this and this and this, and that, you know, that came as a surprise or whatever. So you saw them have a chance to talk, understand each other's point of view, and so I think that carries over now into the next episode where, okay, the last time I just took it upon myself to do something, it didn't pan out so well. So because we communicated and had that conversation, now I'm gonna wait till you get here, make sure we're on the same page. And I think Phil even said that last episode. We gotta be on the same page with Will.
Yep.
So she, you know, heeded the words and made sure they was on the same page. So I like that.
Very much. Okay. We get to our heart show. Her heart show. It is her heart show, but it is her art show. And Janice comes in hot, but G intercepts. And this was so funny. G comes in smooth and takes her away to give her a little, fill her up a little bit to get her distracted. Yeah, G whispered her those sweet, nice things to get that young lady attention distracted so that, well, Aunt Viv can do what she do.
Yeah, G went cougar hunting.
But Doc shows up, which was a good look, and obviously he had to drop his niece off and whatnot. Aunt Viv hooking it up, giving her a spot. This was dope. I really like this, and I'm about to truncate a lot of this, but I really did like the idea of this community here.
Yes, the plugging in, everybody plugging in.
Everybody eating beef. Everybody eating beef.
Yeah. I like it.
And to that point, I'm gonna come back to a couple of things that happens here, but I just want to say that I loved how this season, and maybe we can say both seasons of Bel-Air, has been a focus on Black art, whether it's dance, whether it's music, whether it's style, whether it's paint, whether it's fashion. They're hitting all of the mediums in terms of Black artists and whatnot, which I could imagine some of those canvases that were painted were probably Black artists that they commissioned work from. We got the tap dancing. We got her name just slipped out of my head real quick. Jackie doing the set last week. You know, I won't be surprised if we get some MCs and some lyricists by the end of this season. I think they're really hitting and displaying Black art in every in every bit of fashion that they can. It's definitely chef's kiss for what they're doing.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And
yeah,
these, a lot of what we as the viewers are getting from that, we probably wouldn't get anywhere. Even the songs they be playing in the background, I'd be listening, and I'm like, I don't know who that is. And we wouldn't have heard this song had it not been for it playing on this episode.
Yeah. But yeah. So Jackie gets a spot. The influencers are in there doing their influencer thing, looking for that influencer splash. Lisa and Jackie, first time they meet each other, and this was interesting. But hey, it's Lisa, folks. Y'all know she was gonna be chill, even though she didn't know. But Lisa's a professional, and she makes sure that come in, you got a spot, you go, you change, etc. Doc then drops a gem on Will, which really isn't a gem.
But it was, what I took from that? That was his edge. He helped him discover his edge in that moment.
Bingo. Yep. Hey, man, I know you're good at the ball and whatnot, but don't dismiss your academic stuff. You're a leader, bro. Go ahead after that.
The D1 schools look for that. That's a chance you have that those are schools those guys will never see. Literally.
Yep. Ashley comes in and she's looking at this novel, it's considered a novel. Yeah, Phyllis Wheatley, the first Black published female poet. And this is where we get the title of the episodes, where excellence is everywhere. The important thing here is I actually say I didn't learn about this in school, and we watched this, and I rewinded this because I knew Phyllis Wheatley's name off the tip of my tongue easily. I knew where we were going at with this, and I had to think for a second. I was like, I don't think I learned this in school either, and I think the importance of this is the understanding everything about Ashley's arc right now. Is not only, again, this is why I like Ashley's character so important. This isn't an arc in the story. Yeah. This is a crisis in America.
It is. And that's what I was going to say. It's the one thing, one of the biggest things I took from being a teacher was that your kids get, educated at school, but it's your job as the parent to educate them at home. Much that I know about just the history of my people, none of it was learned. And as a matter of fact, it was been times where I had to go back and forth with my teacher because that ain't correct. That's not accurate. That didn't happen. No, he didn't cover that. It's fact. The only reason I'm able to even have them conversations, it was because as a child, I was educated and given books to read and reports to do from my mother. Hey, so this is Marcus Garvey. Learn about him. These were the great golden ages in Africa. Learn about that. This so-and-so. Learn about, and all people that school did not even mention once. So absolutely. But in the words of, I believe it was Huey Newton. Who's my guy that started the Black Panthers? Was that Huey Newton? Am I confusing him?
That started or the leader?
Or the leader, the front man.
Fred Hampton.
There we go. Fred Hampton. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I believe it was him who said, why would you rely on your oppressor to educate you? Yeah. And that's a bar. That's a bar. This is a fact. Straight up.
So yeah, it's we'll talk more about. I'm gonna talk about Ashley every review, so just know that. We got G and Phil, and Phil lets us know that hey, Garrison never showed up, but the lawyer who stole him did. Mentions it was Erica, and said she wants Phil to join the firm. And then G said, "Well, did you tell Viv?" He said, "Well, there's nothing to talk about anything yet." I agree. I don't know if G agreed, but I agree. No reason to bring in crisis for especially
right.
G season 1. I'm sorry, Phil season 1 would have brought it up right then, but it was about Aunt Viv that day, and it also wasn't a big deal. So long-term storytelling here. Carlton and Jazz are people watching, and then we get an appearance by an actor I'm familiar with in Justin Cornwell, recently in Umbrella Academy. But he comes in as a football player by the name of LaMarcus Alton, and find out that LaMarcus is Hilary's ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
And Jazz is a fan, but Jazz is cool. Jazz and Carlton having their moments. Funny moment to see them kind of do what I would do at a party like that. People watch as well and come up with scenarios in terms of why they're there.
Yeah.
Viv makes her announcement and speech about legacy. But you talk about music being played. They play Icon. Everybody know who that is. Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son. Nice little touch there, like that. But then, you know, this is where we get another performance by tap dancers. As I mentioned, they're having a plethora of art shown by Black people, which is dope. Obviously, if y'all need an MC, contact us. We'll make sure we'll get adversary for season 3. Say less.
Please
call them up. But G leads the dance because G not woke. G like fuck this shit. I'm out. But nah, G had some snooping to do. But at the same time too, everybody also is looking at everybody else. There's a lot of eyes going across the board, and I think Lisa looked at Will. I think Jazz obviously looked at Hilary. There was just a lot of little random little things going on there, but I think it was just setting up the predicament to come.
Yep.
We are now this is the part where Jazz and Hilary doing what she do because she's an influencer, and she's talking about, well, I brought him here because this would help everything in terms of trendiness and algorithm, all that other good stuff. She knew this was definitely a plan that would boost the social reach and everything that happened. But here Jazz is like, okay, cool. But then she says, hey, well, he says, hey, go do your thing. But then Jazz then looks at Hilary and LaMarcus with the family, with Uncle Phil accepting him. And then he just kind of just like, you know what? I'm just going to step off.
Back. Yeah.
My first thing I want to say about this is, Jazz, you can't have it both ways, bro. I know this is not a popular opinion, but Jazz is low key. He's off the grid. He don't do social media, but he supports his girl. You can't be mad because an element of what you don't desire and somebody who comes in to benefits it, and it's not disrespectful. Maybe it could be a discussion to be made, but it ain't disrespectful that he comes in to do a job that he cannot do. Yes, it should be a discussion, but he can't be mad because he comes in and he's equipped with a following, and you don't want to have that.
I didn't think his anger, well, not even anger, but his discomfort, I didn't think it came so much from the fact that, it's the social media stuff. I think the majority of the discomfort came from
seeing Phil accept him. That's a wrap.
The football player.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about when Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv and all of them goes and accept him. Remember just an episode ago that they still looked at Jazz like, oh, you're the boyfriend? Huh? Yeah. No dap or nothing. The dap hurt. Yeah. Y'all watch Blackish, y'all know. Now, the dap hurts.
I try to, like from that moment, now it's been a few weeks or a few months, whatever it's been, they're more like comfortable, I guess, with the idea, with the reality of it. So I think Jazz in his mind understands, okay, that part will maybe be a little slow grind as far as Uncle Phil is concerned, but they don't not rock with me. So I think he's okay there. He reinforces to Hilary all the time, y'all, I rock with you, we together, da-da-da-da. So I think he's good there. I think and this is the first time that I think I've seen Jazz in the 2 seasons period really shaking like that, to that degree. And I think the majority of that came from the fact that that's Hilary's ex. Because remember how he was when he seen him. Yo, you got this many touchdowns? That's my man. Hey, dog, you got me on my face. And he's fanning. And then, like, imagine that in real time, dog. One of your favorite people publicly, your favorite celebrity or something, and you get to actually meet him. You run up and start running down their list of accomplishments, and they're like, yeah, thanks, man. And then 30 seconds later, you find out he used to hit your jump. Everything pauses, everything free. Like, wait, what? Huh? And he just got quiet. He dwarfed down and kind of just fell back. So I think it was kind of like the blow to his manhood or his ego or whatever, in the fact that this guy that I really look up to as an athlete used to date my current girlfriend now. And she reached out to him to bring him to this event. Now, granted, like you said, that was for the followers. That was purely business. However, let BGB have an event. and Niger calls an ex that got a lot of followers. Let's see how his girl handles that news.
Hey,
Let's
bro.
see what we're gonna do with that. You feel me? I'm just saying.
Listen, a conversation needs to be had before decisions like that happen. It definitely throws the vibe off in an event. I can say that for sure. And I think that anybody who's watched Insecure knows that Issa was definitely about all of that in terms of, I'll just invite Lawrence, I'll invite this guy and this guy. She didn't care, but yet it always pops off when you do. It wasn't a good look, but this show doesn't take that route, but any other show, it would have been a scrum. They would have got dirty a little bit, but Jazz stepped off gracefully and did not answer calls for the rest of the night. Just to throw it out there right now.
Yeah, no more text messages.
Yeah. So Lisa, Jackie, giving props to each other. Will comes in, gives a kiss to Jackie right in front of Lisa. And this is where the conversation saying like, oh, I didn't know you two knew each other. And then Jackie's like, so what's the story with her? And said we're just friends. Will obviously lying, but then he obviously comes around a little bit to the truth and says, I'm good. And she says, but she ain't. I love it. Best line of the episode.
Yeah.
But then Lisa, as she has the one-on-one with Will trying to play it cool, but Lisa said, listen, I was holding out for hope. Maybe I was stupid for that, whatnot. And says, this is not gonna work for me, Will. As Will, you can't have it both ways.
Exactly. And I think that's more along the lines of reality. Yeah.
Absolutely. Said we can't be friends anymore, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Phil and Viv talking about the powerful painting, which I thought was one of the most that paint was dope.
Yes. And remember how they alluded earlier when the other influence was like, this one says anonymous, and then the whole time the anonymous John was hers. I like how they back at that.
But like G said, man, you don't forget to have your voice too in all of this, and that's important. Everybody's giving that reminder. Excuse me, come off that anonymous, throw your name on it, girl. But anyway, it says like Phil says, the painting's powerful, don't forget your own voice. But then he says we have a problem with G as he puts the security cam inside of his thing and finds out that G is snooping around stuff because he's looking for his son Frederick. When I'm thinking like, come on, G, you're supposed to be top flight security. How you get caught?
because it's probably the one thing he never expects. Like that's another cinematic element that I've seen used a lot in a lot of shows, a lot of movies.
Yeah.
The whatever character it centers around, it always comes from, or the way they get caught or get found out, because it always comes from a place that they never thought they'd have to look over their shoulders. It's Caesar et tu, Brute, the blade from behind from your man. It's 1,000 times, dog. Every time.
Yeah.
Back
at the influencer deal is done. The live stream with LaMarcus definitely helped everything out. But they got the deal with Simply Sprite. But Jazz is not answering Hilary's text messages as we said, so we're going to see what's up with their relationship come next episode. I think now at the end of this episode, we got everybody looking up at the ceiling because it's a state of loneliness right now as Carlton's feeling low and lonely. So he looks for his guy Coke, who he did not get rid of, who he just rehots it again. And we got Will looking at the school website because looks like that academic thing that he was so willing to give up before, maybe not be the case now. I want to say one thing really quick before I let you close it. I'm sick, so just in case anybody keeps seeing me make this nose gesture, just because I'm muting myself so you don't have to hear my nose. It's just don't want nobody thinking that I'm crazy. So if you talk about Carlton, then go right now. But I don't got that Carlton money, nor would I if I did partake in that lifestyle. What was your thoughts about the end of this episode and overall everything?
I liked how they did it. I liked how, again, the cinematic elements, they went to the drawer. Once they opened the drawer, you saw, oh, that's the decision he made. Okay. Even the camera angles, the way they had him standing over the desk, like on some Godfather type, you know what I mean? Pivotal decision. And then the pan and the zoom out. That's what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it is. All right, folks. So listen, go watch the episode. Come back and watch the recap if you haven't, because if you watched all this and had not watched the episode, I don't know what to tell you. But either way, just to make it very clear, we're here each and every week with your recap and review of Bel-Air. So we'll be back next week for episode 6. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about this episode, the thoughts, the predictions, the reactions to everything that happened in this episode. And as always, y'all be safe, and we see y'all back next week.
Peace.
Big old bell.